What's up? We back. In this one, we're going to look at, and we're going to answer this question of what is a muscle made out of? We're going to look at this micro anatomy of a muscle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our bicep, we're going to cut it. We're going to cut it like that, and we're going to take this little bottom part and fold it out and unravel it. And just peer into that bad boy. Okay, so let's draw a little just bone here. A little fat end on the bone. Something like that. All right, and then we got our little tendon, of course. Comes off like so. And then we got our muscles. Our muscle will come out like so. And we're going to draw kind of the end. Oh boy, nope, that's not what I wanted to draw at all. Nope. Oh boy, I'm struggling here. Okay, something like that's pretty good. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. All right, so we got our little bone over here. Got a bone to pick with you. We got our ligament. Ligament. Right there. And then we got our muscle. Our muscle. All right, so we cut it right there. We're looking down in here. And we've got a bunch of little kind of bundles that form inside of here. That one looks pretty bad. Forgive me, I'm not perfect. Like so. Oops. It's pretty relaxing. All right, so we got one big muscle and it's made out of a bunch of little bundles. Boom, boom, boom. That one's maybe a little too big for the space there. Like so. And we'll do a nice big one there, just to seal the deal. Okay? So we got all these fibers coming out of here. Beautiful. Why did I can't believe I've been looking at that word spelled so poorly that whole time. Muscle. Sorry about that. Okay. And let's draw this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this one out. We're going to pull this one out. Like this one's longer than all the other ones. So I'm going to draw it red at the end here. And then I'm going to kind of fill it in gray to connect it back to here. Like so. Except I don't want that gray right there. Yeah, like that. Perfect. Okay, so pulled that one out. Okay, cool. So this is a little bundle of muscle cells. So this is a little bundle of muscle cells. It's called a fascicle. So this is a bundle of muscle cells. Nope, not what I wanted. Too fat, I want it thinner. This is a bundle of muscle cells, skeletal muscle cells. Skeletal. We looked at these under the microscope, muscle cells, and it's called a fascicle. Fascicle. Just like an icicle, but it's fast. It's a fascicle. And this coating on the outside is coated in connective tissue called fascia. You may have heard that word before. Fascia. It's a connective tissue, so it's got a lot of fibers, collagen, etc. Okay, so inside of here is a bunch of muscle cells. We're just going to draw these as dots. Boom, 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 boom. Look at this organization already. And we're going to draw a bunch of dots in these as well. They would obviously be packed to the brim with these, but I'm going to kind of make it as quick as possible here. What we've got here is a bundle of bundles. A bundle of bundles. And let me pull up something here for myself. So in a single bicep, so each one of these I'm drawing, in a single bicep we have about 300,000 of these muscle cells. That's pretty crazy, 300,000. And they're very long, they go the whole length of the bicep. I do want to finish this just so we get an appreciation for it. And this is only scratching the surface of how many of these there are. But you can see like this, you'll see this style of structure where it's fibers within fibers within fibers. So we got these bundles of muscle cells that form this fascia, and those bundles of muscle cells that form, fascicles, come together to form the entire muscle. And you'll see that kind of structure anytime you have something that has to support things. You'll also see this structure in, for example, suspension bridges. It's a bunch of bundles of thin wire that form thicker bundles that are then bundled together to support the weight of the bridge. Okay, so we got a muscle, we got fascia, and then these things that come out like this are little muscle cells. And another word for these is muscle fibers. So I'm going to pull one out. So we got, and yeah, for this kind of drawing where I'm going to be zooming in, you might need to draw it on another page or whatever and say zoom in of muscle cell. You know, zoom in of fascicle. So this is a muscle cell. This is also known as a muscle fiber or muscle fiber. All right, and you guys drew these. You drew skeletal muscle cells, and you can tell me some things about them, I'm sure. I wish you could be here so you could tell me about them. Number one is that they're striated. Right? I don't know if you remember that, but they have stripes. So if we looked at a single one of these cells, we'd see these little stripes like this. And some other things that we would see on skeletal muscle cells is that they would have multiple nuclei. So there'd be multiple nuclei running all along this big long cell. And you can see why there has to be multiple nuclei, because this is all one cell. This whole thing, this whole muscle fiber, this whole muscle cell, it's one cell. A bunch of little cells come fused together. And so we need genes to be expressed all along it, and so we have to have these multiple nuclei. Pretty nifty. Pretty nifty indeed. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so they have these striations. I kind of skipped ahead. They do have those striations. Because they do all line up together. But here's the crazy part. Is that this thing, if we were to look at it end on, you know, there's an end to it. Actually, let me draw that in red. Just like, we're going to do the same thing here. Just like we pulled out this fascicle and then we pulled out this fiber, guess what there is locked inside of the muscle cell? Tiny little fibers. All right, so we're going to pull one of these out. We'll make it purple. That's not what I want. Don't want that to be filled in. Like so. Okay, so there's tiny little fibers in there, and these things they too are striated. So we can see these like striped patterns on these things. This thing is called a myofibril. A myofibril. Okay. Let's go back. Whoa. Whoosh. Bang. Okay, so muscle cell and muscle fiber. There are 300,000 muscle cells in a bicep. 300,000. That is it's a lot. 300,000 of anything is a lot. It's about, I don't know, I don't have a good reference for how many 300,000 is. It's certainly not how much money I have in the bank, but I wish it was. So there's about 300,000 of those. And then there's about 1,000 of these. There's about 1,000 myofibrils in each muscle cell. That's pretty cool. So this single muscle cell would have about 1,000 of these myofibrils in there. And let me just give you a little, let me pull up a little picture to give you a little better idea of what this looks like. It's reversed, but you get the idea. So here we have our single muscle cell, which if you remember is contained within a fascicle. So there's a bunch of these muscle cells. We pull one of those out. And then that muscle cell is full of these myofibrils. And so you can see how we get these striations, these stripes. It's because they're full of these myofibrils that are they themselves striped. So let's talk about that. What is that? Why are they striped like that? Well, it's a regimented repeating pattern that causes them to be striped. Excuse me. Okay. Let me pull up my picture. I just want to make sure I get this right. I think I got it, but okay. All right. Let me move that up there. There's 1,000 myofibrils in each cell. There's 300,000 muscle cells in a bicep. All right, let's zoom in here. What are these striations? So these are striations. Striations. What are these? What are these? What are you striations? Please tell me. All right, so we're going to make a kind of molecular drawing of a striation and what this actually looks like. So I'm going to draw a straight line. Actually, I'm going to draw like a little V. Like so. And then I'm going to copy that. This is the easiest way to do it because it is regimented. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to connect these. Okay, and then I'm going to take all these, and then can I rotate this? Yes, I can. Beautiful. Like so. Okay, so these are proteins. And they kind of make up this zigzaggy pattern. It almost looks like a hydrocarbon, but it's not a hydrocarbon. Protein, so it's made out of amino acids. And then we have our good friend coming back. This good friend is actin. We got actin coming back here. something like this. And I'm gonna just draw these in here like so. All right, I'm gonna actually move this away a little bit. Something like that. And we'll just move that guy over. So it lines up. Okay. I'll go through and label this all at the end. And then we've got myosin. But myosin actually, he's got like a whole little party of them. He's got a whole party of myosins here. So we're going to draw these like 1, 2, let's draw 3 heads. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to draw his little feetsies. Little connector to the filament. So this is, after we looked at myosin before when it was just a single myosin motor with 2 feet. But this guy has a bunch of feet coming off of this central kind of filament. So it's a bunch of them actually just wrapped together. And they kind of line up in the middle like this. Maybe you can see where this is going if you remember anything about actin and myosin. Well, somehow lost my heads there. All right, this is looking pretty cool, man. I might get that tattooed on me right there. Like, what the heck is that? Well, this whole thing is called a sarcomere. This is called a sarcomere. And this is the contractile unit of your muscle, of your muscles, all your muscles. Smooth muscle, a little different, of your muscles. They don't necessarily have sarcomeres. Why? They're not striated. Contractile unit of your muscles. Okay, this thing here is called the Z line. This is called the Z line. Looks like a Z, right? It's the Z line. Looks like a little zigzaggy boy. This is an actin or thin filament. That's what that's called. Actin. It's an actin filament, which is part of your cytoskeleton. And then this is myosin bundles. Myosin bundles. Or thick. Filament. Thick, bro. Thick filament. Alright? Bang, bang. Okay, well, what is this thing? How does this work? Well, what this does, I'm going to copy this and bring it down here. That's right. You might have to redraw this if you're doing it by hand, and that's okay. So what happens, and we'll talk more about this in the next lecture of how this actually works, but these little myosin heads slide on this. Oops. Why would you do me like that, program? Oh boy. Nope, thanks. These little myosin heads, they grab onto these actin filaments and they scoot along it, right? If you remember this. Right? We talked about that with cell division. And that's going to slide those in. Same thing's going to happen on this side. Those myosin heads are going to grab onto that filament and slide it in. Grab onto the filament, slide it in. Grab onto the filament, slide it in. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that? And now we've got contraction occurring. Pretty nifty, if you ask me. But you see that it can only contract so far. It's pretty interesting. So it only contracted not super far. But you add that up over a lot. So this would be contracted. Contracted. And this top one would be relaxed. Relax and take it easy. This one will be relaxed. Pretty nifty, if you ask me. All right, so we got one of these myofibrils. What are those? What are striations? You now know what a striation is. We got this myofibril. That's this whole thing. One myofibril will contain 100,000 sarcomeres. It's pretty crazy. So it'll contain 100,000 of those just lined up down that myofibril. A lot of crazy numbers there. We're going to use those all for the calculations in the future. Okay, that's the basic microanatomy of your muscles. That's pretty wild, right? I think it's crazy that, okay, we got this huge bundle of bundles, and then inside of those bundles are muscle cells, and then inside of those muscle cells are bundles of myofibrils. There's a bunch of myofibrils here. I didn't really draw that in, but there'd be just way more of these too. Something like 1,000 per muscle cell, right? Just going down the middle of it, okay? And then those are made out of sarcomeres, which are essentially bundles of myosin and actin filaments. Bundles? Hey, yo, Cho, man, we heard you like bundles in your bundles, so we put your sarcomeres in your microfilaments, myofibrils, and then we put those in your muscle cells, and then we put those in your fascicles, and then we made that into your bicep. And why don't you climb a rope with that? And that's a fiber. Or why don't all of you hug each other and make a bundle of humans? It's weird, man. Stuff is weird. All right, I'll see you in the next one.